Green Valley, who's happy to be in church this morning? Happy Mother's Day to everybody that's here celebrating. Let me ask you a question to kick this new series off. What if the greatest tragedy in life isn't failure, but spending your entire life succeeding at things that don't really matter? Now, hold that thought for just a moment. Back in the 1990s, they had this thing where you go on the internet and you hit this site, and it would take you to this site that says, if you want to know the meaning of life. And then when you get to the site, there'd be this button, say, hit here to discover the meaning of life. And so you take your mouse and cursor and try to get that arrow to land on it, and it would keep moving. It would never let you land so you could hit the button of what is the meaning of life. And the point is to show the fact that life, the meaning of life is very elusive. It's hard to nail down. But here's the interesting thing. The problem isn't that it's impossible to find. The problem is we keep looking in the wrong places. There is a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is having information. Wisdom is knowing where to apply it. So you can know a lot and still miss what matters most. Let me give you what knowledge and wisdom are like. Billy Graham, back when he was really kind of right in the beginning of his ministry, he would just drive himself to all these small towns all over the U.S. to preach whatever church would have him there. So he comes in this small town, he needs to mail a letter. And so he sees this 9 or 10-year-old on a bicycle. He goes up to the kid and says, hey, do you know where the post office is? And the kid sure does, gives him directions. And so Billy, being the guy that has thanked him greatly, said, man, I thank you so much. And hey, if you come to church tonight, I'll tell you how to get to heaven. And the boy looks at him and says, I don't think I'll be there. You don't even know how to get to the post office. Yeah. See, the fact is this. You can sound confident, you can sound spiritual, and you can sound intellectual, but wisdom is what helps you discern what is actually the right direction to go. And here's why this series is so important, because people are struggling to find real meaning in their lives. This was a Pew research that took place in 2023, found that the majority of Americans say they regularly think about the meaning and purpose of life, yet fewer are now actually even being able to find it or even know what they want. The younger generations are this. They have higher levels of loneliness and lack of purpose than the previous generations, even coming with depression and despair. Even churchgoers who say they believe in God and attend church still feel directionless or maybe spiritually stagnant. Maybe that's where some of you are today. And what's ironic is this. We are, as a country, as a whole, I know others are different financial situations, but the truth is, we are, as a country, wealthier, more connected, more entertained than ever before in history, yet we're still asking the same questions. And that is the reason for this series. Ecclesiastes will give us the wisdom to know the difference of what matters most in life. Now, let me give you the context before I jump into it. The book of Ecclesiastes is one of the three, what the Bible would call wisdom books in the Old Testament. So it's Proverbs, it's Ecclesiastes, and Job, all considered wisdom books. But Ecclesiastes is not easy to read. As a matter of fact, I've read it multiple times. I read it 4 times through before we did this series to make sure that I had as much as I could do to get my head around it. But what you're going to see in this series, and if you read the book, is that Ecclesiastes is brutally honest. It pulls no punches. It sounds very pessimistic and dark at first. And it creates real tension. I mean real tension about the meaning of life and death. And its approach is somewhat unique. It starts off with this in verse 1 of Ecclesiastes 1. It says, these are the words of the teacher, King David's son, who ruled in Jerusalem. Now here's the uniqueness of it. The teacher is different from the anonymous author. The teacher could be a person, or it could actually be the teacher is wisdom, but the author wants to remain anonymous. Now, many people believe it's King Solomon who wrote Ecclesiastes. That's the most popular one. That's where I go. But there is some doubt in that, and some others believe that it was another descendant of David. But here's the central question that Ecclesiastes is asking. What actually gives life meaning? And instead of giving easy answers, the author invites us to wrestle with real realities of life and death, its frustrations, its questions, and its limits. It doesn't hold back on anything. And this is how it begins. Everything is meaningless, says the teacher, completely meaningless. Now, the word meaningless there, translated to English, is actually, when it's translated from Hebrew to English, is the word hevel. And you're gonna hear that a lot in the series, hevel. And it means meaningless, and it's actually, the author uses it 38 times in the book of Ecclesiastes. But when you get it down to its literal form, hevel actually means vapor, breath, or smoke. It wants us to get the idea, like when you see smoke, you feel like you can go grab it, but when you do, you can't hang on to any smoke, it's gone. And what it's talking about, there's a lot of things in life that we try to hold on to that are absolutely meaningless, so why should we hold on to them? And it points to this paradox. Life has some real beauty. It has some real meaning, but if you don't understand where to find it, it will be meaningless at the end. So what the author forces all of us to do, and that's what we're gonna do in this series, is what are the things that we chase that we think really matters? Things like it's gonna talk about money and wealth, power and influence, pleasure and adventure, status and popularity. What do relationships really mean about having a meaningful life? What does it mean to fear God? Why does integrity matter and character matter? And the tension the author draws is between two bookends. The first tension is the tyranny of time. And this is what he says. What do people get for all their hard work under the sun? Generations come, generations go, but the earth never changes. And if you read that down to about verse 12 of chapter 1, he's just saying that life just continues to repeat itself and time goes fast. It goes really, really fast, and we only have a limited amount. Here's the other bookend. The other bookend is death. All of us, no matter if you're thinking about it or not, we are going to die. It says, when mourners will weep at your funeral in Ecclesiastes chapter 12. Who's still excited about being in church today? Woo! Can't wait, right? But the author is not trying to depress us. He's trying to wake us up, shock our systems, because he's trying to push you in the right directions. These are his words. The words of the wise are like cattle prods, painful, but helpful. And the author's wisdom is not speculation. He lived it. It's what it says. I denied myself no pleasure, but as I looked at everything I worked so hard to accomplish, it was all so meaningless. It was all hevel, like chasing the wind. Now, he doesn't leave us there. There is hope. He also says God, has made everything beautiful in its time. He's also set eternity in the human heart, yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. And here's what we're gonna learn over this series, and I don't want you to miss, I really don't. We're gonna learn that there's a big difference on how we experience life depending on what we chase. Wisdom or hevel. So the big idea in this series is very simple. Wisdom is knowing the difference between what is worth living for and what isn't. And here's what I want to do today. I want to give you the overarching wisdom things that Ecclesiastes deal with. I'm not going to go into detail about them, but I'm going to give you the overarching things so that we can talk about them for the next 6 weeks. So the first piece of wisdom that Ecclesiastes talks about is this. Time goes fast, so make the most of it. Maybe you've heard this quote before. The days are long, but the years are short. I mean, I look at the mirror and I go, what happened to that guy? Where is that guy? And it really became real to me while I was doing this message because 2 nights ago, I binged on a Netflix documentary on the old Celtics and Lakers, where it was Magic Johnson, Kareem, and Larry Bird, and Kevin McHale, and the rivalry. It was one of the best rivalry of NBA history, and I watched the whole thing in one night. But here's what really struck me. All that took place in 1984, 42 years ago. I mean, I was absolutely, how many were alive in 1982? How many were not alive in 1982? Yeah. Holy crud. This is getting worse. I mean, but you want to think about it and just in plain how fast life really does go. And if you're young right now, I get it. I didn't think about it either, but it goes. Because I still feel like I'm looking out of the eyes of a 20-year-old. And think about how we talk about the speed of life. When you're just a child, someone asks you, how old are you? I'm 4.5. You're never 36 and a half. You're 4.5 going on 5. That's the key. You get into your teens and now nothing can hold you back. You jump to the next number, even a few ahead. How old are you? I'm going to be 16. You could be 13, but you're gonna be 16. Then the greatest day of your life comes. You become 21. Even the words sound like a ceremony. You're becoming 21. Yes, but then you turn 30. Ooh, what happened there? Makes you sound like bad milk, you know? He turned, we had to throw him out. There's no fun now. He just soured. What's wrong? What's changed? So you become 21, you turn 30, and then you're pushing 40. Whoa, put on the brakes. It's all slipping away now. And before you know it, you reach 50 and your dreams are all gone. But wait, you make it to 60. You didn't think you would, but you make it. So you become 21, you turn 30, you push 40, you reach 50, you make it to 60. You built up so much speed that you hit 70. And after that, it's just a day-to-day thing. You hit Wednesday. You get into your 80s and every day's a complete cycle. You hit lunch, you turn 4:30, you reach bedtime, it doesn't end there. You get to your 90s, you start going backwards. I was 92, then a strange thing happens. If you make it to over 100, you become a little kid again and say, I'm 100 and a half. Life goes fast. This is the wisdom from Ecclesiastes. Do everything you want to do and take it all in. Life is short, don't waste it. Now the author is talking about urgency, not recklessness. Not sinful indulgence, but intentional living. The author is forcing you and me to look at the realities of time and realize that to make the most of our lives, we don't just sit around waiting for life to come to us, but we get busy living. Now here's why this is so important for you today and so important for you online. And I want you to hear this today. This is a big deal. The illusion of time is someday. I have plenty of time, so I will get to that someday. I'll get around to the things that really matter. Someday I'll slow down enough to really be present with my kids before they're grown. Someday I'll have that hard conversation I keep avoiding. Someday I'll prioritize my marriage instead of just trying to squeeze it in after everything else. Someday I'll get serious about my relationship with God. Someday I'll stop playing around with the sin I've learned to tolerate. Someday I'll start serving, giving, making a difference. Someday I'll deal with what's broken in me instead of just managing. Someday I'll become the person I keep saying I want to be. The author wants us to know this reality. Time is short, and if you put too many somedays together, there are no more days. So let me ask you a question on this first piece of wisdom that you need to wrestle with. What are you putting off to someday that you need to get after today? What are some of the things in your life that you want to try, experience, or see? Where is God calling you to grow and stretch your life? What hurt, habit, or hang up have you learned to manage instead of confront? What are you postponing that deep down you know matters most? If your life keeps going in this same direction, where do you think it'll end up? What are you spending your life chasing that won't matter? That'll be just hevel. The wisdom of Ecclesiastes confronts this. If we waste the time that we have been given, our lives will be hevel. It will disappear as quickly as a vapor. Here's the second piece of advice. Enjoy what you have, but hold it loosely, because it can be gone in a moment. Let me give you just a quick story. So years ago when I first got to this church, it was like around 2000. It was my first stay, the first 14 years. I had been paying off this truck that I had wanted my whole life up until that point. It was a Chevy extended cab pickup. I mean, I was like a rock, I'm just telling you. And then when I got here, 3 months after I got here, I'd finally got to the place where I was paying the last payment. So coming home from the church one day, I was going down Missouri Flat here, and they hadn't fixed the intersection that's way down there that crosses, I forget what it's crossing down there. But anyway, they hadn't fixed it like it is now, so it kind of went in a Y. Well, I got distracted, and I don't know what happened, but I blew through a stop sign. I got T-boned, and it destroyed my car. Thank God the other person was not hurt, destroyed his truck 3 months after I sent in the last payment. Why do I tell you this? Because earthly treasure can go like that. One moment, it's gone. Now, listen to what the Ecclesiastes says here. Those who love money will never have enough. How meaningless to think that wealth brings true happiness. Now, I have to tell you, Jesus hits hard on this subject. This is what he said. He said, a rich man had a fertile farm that produced crops. He said to himself, what should I do? I don't have room for all my crops. Then he said, I know. I'll tear down my barns and I'll build bigger ones. Then I'll have enough room to store all my wheat and other goods. And I'll sit back, here's a key line, and say to myself, my friend, you have enough stored for years to come. Now take it easy, eat, drink, and be merry. We'll come back to that in a second. But God said to him, you fool, you will die this very night. Then who will get everything that you work for? Yes, a person is a fool to store up earthly wealth, but not have a rich relationship with God. Now I want you to see some specific things here. First, because some of the cynics in here are already going after this scripture. First, there's nothing wrong with a bountiful harvest. God loves to bless his children. He loves to bless us. Nothing wrong with that. The problem is that his attitude. You see, Ecclesiastes says it is a good thing to receive wealth from God. But what happens is his attitude was, yeah, but it's not enough. He had to build bigger barns. The abundant harvest didn't make him more generous. It was the reverse. It made him more selfish. And he will see, said to himself, I will keep this all for myself. Jesus calls him a fool, not because he's successful, not because he's a hard worker, not because he had this bountiful harvest. He calls him a fool because he's storing up what he can never keep. Now, embedded through this story and the entire Bible when it comes to earthly wealth, possessions, and those kinds of things, there is a teaching that Jesus gives us, and you will miss it if you don't see it, that there is a joy that comes from being generous that you can't get with hoarding wealth. And here's what it says in Ecclesiastes. We all come to the end of our lives as naked and empty-handed as on the day we were born. We can't take our riches with us. So what's the solution? The solution is to hold earthly riches loosely. Enjoy them, but hold them loosely because God might require something of you from them. And here's the thing. Generosity lasts. Generosity is the thing that makes a difference in other people's lives or other places where they're doing good things. That's what lasts. And what Ecclesiastes is trying to tell us is that if you don't hold earthly riches loosely, you will miss the joy of what it means to be generous. Now, I want you to do this exercise with me, okay? First service did it, and they were all in. I want you to be all in on this, and nothing weird is going to happen. I'm not going to make you, slap the person next to you or anything like that, okay? So just take out your hands like this, okay? Put them out like that, okay? We're all going to do this together, okay? Now, what I want you to do is I want you to make a fist. I want you to grab, and I want you to squeeze, okay? Squeeze. Come on, man, squeeze. Now, what do you feel? A little more tense, a little more stress. Maybe some of you are not so focused on me because you're worried about making the squeeze, so you're not fully in the moment. Maybe there's a little bit of a distraction because of that. This is what it means to hold tightly to earthly stuff. it actually causes more stress and more worry. Now, just on the count of 3, I'm just gonna want you just to release your hold. Okay, don't do anything else, just release your hold. Okay, 1, 2, 3, release your hold. Okay, now what do you feel? Feel relief? Feel the blood flowing back through your hands? Maybe there's less stress and less tenseness. This is what it means to hold earthly riches loosely. If we know they're all God's and we hold them loosely, and if he wants us to be generous, or if they're gone, or if they're here, if he blesses us, then we don't have to worry about those things. Now here's one more. Okay, here's one more. Take your hands and do this. When you hold your hands like this, not only is it easy to hold earthly stuff loosely, but it is also easy to receive the blessings of God in your life. This is the wisdom that Ecclesiastes wants us to wrestle with on this particular subject. Enjoy what you have, but make sure you hold it loosely. Now, I want to brag on you guys for just a second. So last week we had Chad here from Convoy of Hope, and Becca and Nicole, Becca was talking about we're going to Moldova in the fall. Country. If you don't know it, you need to watch the service. I don't have time to go through the whole thing, but we needed to raise $9,000 for this mission trip, $9,000. So Chad's the director of Convoy Hope, who we're working with. He goes outside there, and he tells us after all 3 services, he goes, I've never been to a church that has handed me more cash on the way out than this church has. We raised, the goal was $9,000. You guys raised $14,000. Not only that, I got an email from somebody who is generous and has the means. God bless this person. They're gonna match that so that we actually have $28,000 for Moldova. That's you. And that's the joy of generosity and holding earthly things loosely. You got a taste of what Ecclesiastes is talking about. Okay, here's the third one. The third one is people are important, but don't make them the most important. Now, wait on this. Wait before you make a conclusion on what I just said there. Let's talk about what Ecclesiastes says. 2 people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one falls, the other can reach up and help him, but someone who falls alone's in real trouble. Likewise, 2 people lying close together can keep each other warm, but how can one be warm alone? A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but 2 can stand back to back and conquer. 3 are even better, for a triple branded cord is not easily broken. Now, here's what Ecclesiastes is trying to tell us about relationships. Relationships make life better. They just do. They encourage us, they help us, they bring us along. Let me give you an example. So before I came to this church, I was at Bayside, Blue Oaks in Roseville. I was a senior pastor there, and I got on the softball team, and I still thought I could play. And I played for years, okay? Well, the problem with softball now is I can still hit. I can't throw very well. I can't get the ball in from the infield, and I can't run very well either. So I would be in the lineup, and of course I would get up and I'd hit, and I'd get my base single, my line drive for a single. And so I'd trot to first, and I would just, whatever happened, it'd be okay, the next base. I'm not looking to be any kind of hero. I'm not sliding ever anytime soon in my life again. I just want to just walk around the bases, and just get home. So anyway, I'm on first base. The guy behind me hits a gapper. And so I'm coming around second, and the guy at third's waving me into third. And I'm like, okay, all right, well, maybe I can make that. And so I'm hustling as hard as I can. But as I get to third, he does something that it's just stupid. He goes, let's go all the way. Already my legs are pooped and tired. And I kid you not, I round third base. And as I do 2 steps, I pull my hamstring to the point where I was like this. The entire dugout on my side, third base side, gets up and starts cheering. There are guys, go, Scott, can't go. So I'm like this, down third base line. It's all the way. And I made it safe, baby. And it's because they cheered me on. Okay, now, stay with me on this, okay? Relationships, they make life better. They make good times better, tough times easier, growing times richer, grieving times bearable, vulnerable times protected. Good friendships and relationships are the kind of people that come around and say to the person who's wanting to take advantage of you, say, if you hurt my best friend, I can make your death look like an accident. But the wisdom of his relationship is this, and this is why I wanted you to hold your thoughts at the beginning. The wisdom of a relationship is this, is to give them the proper expectation. Why? Because you can't put people on a pedestal that they were never meant to stand on. And sometimes we do that. We think if I could just get the right people around me, if I could just find that right spouse for me, that would completely. No, it won't. And it's really simple because no one's perfect. Ecclesiastes, not a single person on earth is always good and never sins. So the question is, what do you do if relationships make your life better? Then what do you do? There's two things, okay? The first one is this, is learn to be thankful for imperfect people because that's all there is. Turn to the person next to you and say, you're imperfect. You guys are having fun doing that, right? Some of you have been wanting to say that for a long time, and the person next to you is like, what? Are you kidding? I am? I'm not imperfect? Say it to me, okay? That's exactly right. Now, here's the second thing. You got to embrace imperfect people, but to maintain healthy relationships, and we're going to talk about this in the series, to maintain healthy relationships, you got to learn how to forgive and ask forgiveness. That's just a fact. And we're going to talk about that in that series. But here's the wisdom of Ecclesiastes is saying, listen, you want to have a life that matters, then build deep relationships because that does last. Okay, here's the fourth piece of wisdom. Build character, not just success and comfort. Now, the key here is what kind of person are you becoming underneath the life everyone sees? And here's why this is an important question, because here's the problem. You can succeed publicly while living a shadow life. What is a shadow life? A shadow life is this hidden life beneath your public one. It's the unhealthy parts of you that no one sees, but eventually will come to light. We see this all the time in the news of famous people because they're under the spotlight. Let's just think about not too long ago. This guy right here, Lance Armstrong, was one of the most admired athletes in the entire world where he won multiple Tour de France titles. And if you ever watch a documentary on Tour de France titles, man, it's grueling. It's the top of the top of the top that are actually in the race, and only the top of the top of the top win it. It's incredible. This is the guy that we hailed as the most powerful athlete of his time. But yet, what was his shadow life? Drug enhancing that would help him win, and he was stripped of all his titles. This maybe you know if you're in the Christian world, Ravi Zacharias. This is really sad. Powerful speaker, teacher on apologetics of God, spread the gospel, shared his testimony, talked about the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, and many people found Christ become of him, but he had a shadow life. And after he passed away, found out that he had a lot of sexual misconduct and abuse. So his life has an asterisk by it. No one remembers what he did that was good. It's the shadow life now that will live with him for the rest of his life. Here's the wisdom of Ecclesiastes. Please listen to me, please. A good reputation is more valuable than costly perfume. Now, for us, that's not a big deal, but for them, that was a big comparison back then because they didn't have access to showers every day. So perfume was really important. And there was a lot of cheap stuff, but if you had costly perfume, when you came into the room, people would know, oh, this person has it together. This person has costly perfume and it makes them smell good, so I don't mind being around them because it's covering up that BO stuff. And what he's saying is that a reputation is more important than that. The author wants us to understand eventually people forget about what you owned, but they remember who you were. Now, this right here, I have to be careful with because it's falling apart, but this is in my office. It's a shadow box of my dad. So when he died, he's been gone since 2011. We put some stuff that was about him in the shadow box because we got great memories with it. And most of you have read my book. The $2 bill is right there because that's what his big thing was. This, for some of you who don't know, is a cassette tape, okay? One of his messages is on that, all right? And actually, I believe it's the interview that we did right here, right before he passed away, 3 months before he passed away, right on the stage. This is a picture of me playing basketball, him encouraging me after a game that we lost, I don't know, stuff. But this is what I want you to see. Now, I know you can't read it, but it's a piece of paper. And we found this in his Bible about 3 weeks after he passed away. And what he wrote on this was something that he lived by. And this is what this says right here. God is more concerned about your character than your career because you can take your character into eternity, but not your career. And honestly, that's what my dad did. Now, let me share something with you. Nobody's going to put your career in a shadow box. Nobody's going to put your high school or college trophies in the shadow box. What they're going to put in is the things that they remember you by that were meaningful. So the question for you is this, is what kind of reputation you want to have. Now, let me say this. My dad was not perfect. As a matter of fact, I've shared that from here. I've shared stories about my dad not being perfect and some of the things that he had to deal with. But what made his reputation so powerful that lasts is that he knew he wasn't perfect. So he surrendered those imperfections to God and allowed God to redeem them, that now after God's redemption, he now helped people to stay away from the failures that he had. You see, part of your reputation that is powerful, that will last, is not just the good things you do and the right things you do. It's also to recognizing the bad things you do and go, I don't want to do that anymore. I need to correct myself. And I'm telling you, when somebody sees that kind of thing in someone's life, it lasts. It has meaning. Maybe sometimes more than the good stuff people do, because they go, hey, at least they had the guts to admit it. At least they had the guts to show up to Celebrate Recovery and go, hey, I got an anger issue. I got an alcohol issue. Hey, I got a pride issue. That's the kind of stuff that lasts. And this is what is happening in the book of Ecclesiastes, is trying to get us to really think about. This is why I love this church. I'm gonna brag about this church a little bit more because I love the people at this church. Do you know who teaches most of the classes in our leadership of our church? People who have failed, who have turned and surrendered that failure over to Christ, and now God is redeeming it to help lead other people to Christ. That's this church. Whether you're a divorce care teacher or a Celebrate Recovery leader or a grief share person or somebody that's on the elder board, all these people who are in these positions have done that, and that's what makes their reputation more better than anything else that this world could offer. Sorry, I got off on a thing on that, all right? So what will last is not what you've accomplished. All that will be hevel. It's who you became. Okay, I'm gonna leave you on this one, last one. Fear God and worry less. Simple. This is what it says. Fear God and obey his commands, for this is everyone's duty. God will judge us with everything we do, including every secret thing, whether good or bad. Now, the fear of God is not terror. Nope. It's awe and reverence. It's the moment you realize that God is God and you're not. That God is in control and you're not. And when that becomes real, something inside of you begins to shift. You stop needing to feel to control things. You stop worrying about every little thing in your life. You start holding life loosely. And then obedience to God's wisdom stops feeling like restrictive, and it actually starts feeling like, hey, this is probably the right way to go. And God is gonna take care of me. He's got my back. He'll sustain me in the good times, and he'll sustain me in the bad times and celebrate with me in the good time. He's gonna lead me and guide me. And that changes everything. Life stops being something you merely wander through, worried about this and stressed about that and concerned about that. And you just wake up every day and just go, hey, God, okay, here's what I can do. The rest of it's in your hands. So let me illustrate it this way. So I love this story. This is written by John Ortberg. How many of you have watched the classic Snow White with your kids? The classic Snow White. Okay, a lot more. There's only like 4 in the other service. I was like, what? Anyway, well, it's not the best motivator for people to overcome fear and worry. I mean, let's think about it. This is what he writes. Here's a woman hiding from her stepmother because she feels helpless and afraid. So she takes a job doing menial labor for 7 short, cranky guys because she thinks she can never find more fulfilling work. And she's sitting around passively waiting to get rescued, singing, "Someday my prince will come in." This is what he says, when my girls grow up, I don't want them to do that. Never. If they're ever in that situation, I want them to have the courage to confront the stepmother face to face. Tell her to come to grips with the aging process. Tell her you have no intentions of being the fall guy for her insecurities about her fading sexual attractiveness. Tell her to find a good therapist. Tell the 7 short guys to get a life. If they can't handle basic challenges of personal hygiene and housekeeping, they need to shell out some dough to compensate your time and efforts. And stop waiting for some prince to come around and rescue you. Take hold of the day. Stop being afraid. Stop worrying. Start living. Enjoy life. Make a difference. And when it's time to choose a prince, you let dad decide. And that's the thing that Ecclesiastes is trying to get us to think about. If you fear God, you have a reverent and awe fear of God, then you got to worry about this stuff. If you're in a bad time, he'll sustain you. If you're in a good time, he'll celebrate with you. Listen, you can spend your whole life chasing the wind, living distracted by Hevel, or you can learn wisdom that actually gives life meaning. So don't miss what's next in this series, because Ecclesiastes is going to keep us asking questions we usually avoid until we finally start living with clarity of the life that we were supposed to live. Are you with me on this series? All right? So let's pray. Heavenly Father, this wisdom we need to glean, it's gonna mess with us because it's brutal, but I pray it messes with us in the best way so that we can live lives that really matter and not wander around trying to find meaning. This is what you've created us for. And so, Father, help us to learn to start by fearing you and following you. In your name we pray. Amen. God bless you guys, man.